What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 306.3, our Western Boys Basketball Summer Report with head coach Cam Bennington, co-hosted by the Action Sports Network's Grant Shouse.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Yeah, let's go. Grant and I are now joined by Western head coach Cam Bennington. Coach, you and I have talked several times. We've never met face-to-face. It's nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you in person.
And how are things going this summer and today?
It's been really good. We've had a good summer. We're trying to do some things differently this year and change the way we play a little bit. And we've had some growing pains with that, but the kids are working hard, and that's all I could really ask for. And then, we got a win this morning in our first game, have another one coming up here against a really good team. So just excited to be out competing and having our guys together, kind of building some camaraderie as the summer starts to wind down. It's really, we just got started, but it's already kind of winding down.
What are some of the new approaches you guys are trying to take?
I thought we were really, really good defensively last year. In a lot of games, we played a lot of really good teams and held a lot of teams in the 30s and 40s last year. But at times we struggled to score. And I think the pace of play had a lot to do with that. So we're just trying to increase our pace a little bit. I also think we graduated two really, really good defenders. And they're going to be hard to replace, their physicality and length. But we're going to replace them with guys that are a little bit quicker and can shoot. So I think although we may not be as good defensively, I think we have the potential to score some more points this year. So we're kind of trying to work on playing a little bit faster and maybe shooting a little bit quicker into the possession. But with that comes the pains of understanding what's a good shot and what's not. And shooting fast doesn't mean I just shoot the first time I touch it.
That's maybe the biggest thing for a high school basketball team is shot selection.
Absolutely. It's something we talk about, daily, weekly. And it's hard for high school kids, too, to understand that shot selection changes. Like, what's a good shot in the first quarter isn't always a good shot in the fourth quarter. And, time and score goes into that. And then our pace has to change throughout the flows of the game. And, that's what's great about Indiana and basketball. And we get all these summer games to try that out. And it's more low stakes, even though, we lose a game, I'll probably still go home and complain more about it to my wife than I should for a summer game. But at the end of the day, it's about getting better and getting out with your guys and competing and see where you're at for next year. And that goes a long way in helping you prepare for next season.
I just told Coach Hoffman to be nice at summer. So
yeah, I need to take that approach sometimes probably. It's probably a good thing my wife's not here to tell me that.
Be nice summertime.
Who's one team you guys have seen this summer that's impressed you?
We didn't play them, but we saw Oak Hill play at Indiana Wesleyan. They're really, really good. And, adding the second Tonical kid's going to make them even harder to guard, and obviously they got another transfer too. And I personally think that Coach Rinbarger is one of the most underrated coaches in the state. That I don't know that anybody underrates him, but he probably doesn't get talked about or get the respect that he deserves because he's a heck of a coach. His staff is really good. They play hard. They defend well. And then you add in two really good players along with the guys they got coming back. They were really, really impressive at Indiana Wesleyan last weekend.
And you're going to play them late February as opposed to around Christmas time or in January or whenever. Talk about your schedule this year, and one of the schools that you're going to play stands out is Marion.
Yeah, that was
them on the schedule.
We're really excited to get them on the schedule, and we talk a lot about our strength of schedule, and we're not hunting wins in our scheduling process. We're treating the regular season as an opportunity to get ready for the sectional. We don't play in a state where you have to win a certain number of games or achieve a certain Sagarin rating to make the sectional. Everybody makes it, so quite frankly, why not load your schedule with as many?
Because wins, Coach.
Yeah.
Your win resume. Come on.
I agree, but
I
would take a 7-win sectional championship over a 15-win first-round exit every day of the week, and that's just kind of the approach we're trying to take to that. And adding Marion, it's going to be a tough game for us earlier in the year, but when we start with Kokomo, play Twin Lakes, come right back with Marion. Two of our first 3 games are against traditional basketball powerhouses and that are going to be athletic and are going to be tough for us. But we're really excited about that, and we're really excited to just challenge ourselves with our schedule. And, we're still going to try to get as many wins along the way as we can.
Probably will admit at this point now that last year your team overachieved a bit.
I mean,
you probably never admit that now.
I don't look at it that way. I think we underachieved in year one, and part of that was on me as being, my first year there and figuring the guys out. And, I think everybody and their brother probably would look at it and say we overachieved. But, when you're in there with them all summer and all spring and all fall in the workouts, and you see the work we're putting in, and you could see it start to come together at the end of last season. We fully intended on having a really good year last year. And didn't mean that we knew we were going to have a really good year. So maybe, I can look at it from that standpoint and say that I didn't know it was going to go as well as it did. But we did set expectations pretty high for ourselves. But, from the standpoint outside looking, I think most people would think that we overachieved. And, we beat some teams we probably shouldn't have, so you could probably go with that.
But next year, you're not sneaking up on anybody.
No, we're not going to sneak up anybody next year. We won our conference, so the target's on our back a little bit from that standpoint. But we're excited. We're excited to have it that way and just get out and compete.
And one of the worst weekends probably for you as a coach has got to be that Mechanic-Mississinawa weekend. And I did your game last year against Mississinawa. I've done it the last 2 years, and that's always a game that, especially last year, because you guys had gone into double overtime within the night before.
Yeah.
And you basically go home and take a nap, and you got to get ready and go play another game less than 24 hours later.
Yeah, no, that's a really tough weekend for us, and it hasn't helped the last 2 years with McConaughey being as good as they've been. And, they may not be as good as they were the last 2 years this year, but Coach Burris is still a phenomenal coach and does a nice job. And they still play a style that's so hard to prepare for that you got to spend so much time on. And then you get through that, and like you said, you take a little nap, you get up, you go through a walkthrough to prepare for another team that's good or well coached and is talented and plays hard in Mississinawa, and you never, that game's at noon or whatever, like you said, so you don't really feel fully prepared taking the floor. It's not a fun weekend. It's fun from the standpoint of competition and competing, but from the standpoint of a coach who really likes to be prepared and have all the T's crossed and I's dotted, it makes you a little nervous when you go into those games.
So tell me about Eli Mast and the progress he's made. We know, obviously, being around here long enough, the year between freshman and sophomore year is an awfully big leap for players who are putting in the work. What are we expecting from him?
I expect big things.
Or is he spending all his time playing tennis?
No, he's spending a lot of time playing basketball. He had a really, really good summer and spring. Spring, that is, playing AAU. He played over there with the AAU program that Indiana Wesleyan's IM third elite team they created over there, and they had a really good summer. He was coached by a really good coach, and another kid in his class, Gavin Hartzler, who will play a lot of minutes for us this year, was on that team too. And the guys with that IM third elite program did a phenomenal job and really helped them learn and progress as not only as basketball players but as young men and as leaders. And that's what's going to be big for Eli now, is he's not a freshman and he's still our point guard. So he's got a full year of varsity basketball under his belt. He is our point guard. He's going to have to be a little bit more of a leader and have a little bit more of a commanding voice, even though he is a sophomore. But he's spent a lot of time in the gym. He told me his goal was to make 400 threes every day after school this spring, and he did it just about every day. Wow. And he wants to improve his jump shot from outside, and that's going to go a long way. He's shooting it well right now. That's going to go a long way in giving Carter Biggs some relief in the scoring category this coming winter.
Who's one kid you want? Obviously, you want to see kids take a jump every year. You want to see your whole team make a jump, but who's one specific maybe that you want to see make a bigger jump than anyone?
The one that might be the biggest key to the whole deal is that I think Eli's going to make that big jump kind of by default. And, Carter had a great year. He's going to have another really good year this year. But Christian Banks played some minutes for us last year. He had a great game over there at Mississinawa actually for us. He's 6'7". He's got a skill set that is more tailored towards a guard. He can really shoot it from outside. Physically he hasn't been as built and he's been a little, thinner, but he's put on a little bit of weight. And he looks really, really good right now. He's playing a little bit harder. He's started to figure high school basketball out. And, when you have a point guard and then you got another guard that can score, we're kind of missing that third piece and who's going to be the next guy to count on in scoring. And oftentimes he could end up being the second or first leading scorer when he puts it all together. So he's the one that I would like to see take a really big jump. And if he does that, I think we have a chance to have a pretty good year.
You're playing in the Lebanon tournament right after Christmas. What's that field look like? Do you know?
I don't know exactly yet. Last year had a lot of good teams in it. I know that most of the teams are back, so Brownsburg is actually replacing Mooresville this year, so that's going to be a really big one. Indianapolis Metropolitan's in that field. Gary 21st Century's in that field. I think I already said Indy Metro. Perry Meridian, University, Lebanon, of course. It's a good tournament, really good tournament. And last year we went into it 6-1 and went 1-2 in it, but it was great for us. There's a lot of competition. Again, that's kind of the theme. We want to constantly be challenging ourselves against some good teams, and we're going to definitely get that every single night or every single game when we go to Lebanon for that holiday tournament.
Have you approached anything differently this summer than you have the past two?
No, not really. We've tried to place a bigger emphasis on the weight room, and maybe it's not any bigger of an emphasis. In my mind, it's been bigger, but it's just something that I think we have to continuously preach of getting our kids in the weight room, getting more weight on them, getting them a little bit stronger. But the stuff we've kind of talked about of trying to play a little bit faster and learn how to do that, and I guess it's just been more of a teaching thing where we got to teach them to play fast. We can't just say go play fast. So we've had to take some steps back, and maybe it's a little bit less live play and more teaching to go along with that. But the kids are working really hard, and I'm really happy every day I get to go to work with them.
Coach, what a spring it was at Western High School. The softball team probably accomplished a little less than they expected in the postseason, but still another incredible year. And next year, I don't think anyone's going to beat them next year. Your baseball team, great season. And then Elise Walden, what she did. What a year it was. What a spring it was for Western.
Boys golf team won sectional
too. Oh, that's right.
So,
I forgot the golf team.
No, it was a really good spring. We had a lot of athletes do a lot of really nice things. We got some players on that baseball team that, baseball takes a lot of their summer time, and, rightfully so, they're good baseball players. So we're really glad whenever we can get them in the gym. But then, like you said, the softball team, I don't think anyone in Rocheville is very pleased with the way the softball season ended because I think they all wanted to get another blue ring this year.
Getting one next year.
But the hope is that they'll get another one next year. And our baseball team returns the core of their players. Honestly, most of their key contributors are all back next year.
Rodman is awfully good.
Yeah, he's a good player. And then the golf team didn't really lose anybody. Elise will be back for the track team. It was a fun spring at Western, and I'm looking forward to a fun fall. I'm excited about our football program. Getting Coach Colby and his dad over at Western is going to be huge for us. They've already done tremendous things with the weight room and the summer workouts and stuff, and have a great relationship with them, and have really enjoyed getting to know them. And it's a fun time to be at Western. We just hope the basketball team can keep improving, keep getting better, and maybe we can start adding some of that hardware to the trophy case ourselves.
How important is it to try and work with those other coaches from other sports?
It's tremendously important, and I think some guys try to fight it, and they want to find guys that play one sport. I truly believe that the more multi-sport athletes we can have, the better we're going to be. Right? When we can get football players who go through a physical fall that can come into the basketball gym and be physical on the basketball court, I think we're better when we have more football players. Now, hopefully, we get football players that still will come to our basketball things in the summer. That's another key part of it. But I think it is a tremendously important and underrated thing to have good relationships with the baseball and football coaches at your school.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. Nice finally meeting you face to face.
You as well.
Any thoughts on the Pacers?
Oh man, that was a great game last night. I'm excited. I told my dad last night that this is like a bucket list sports moment for a fan to get to see your team play in the NBA Finals. And now we go Game 7. I was really upset last night after the game got over. I shouldn't have been, but the coach in me is sitting there, and I was just so mad at the way that Game 4 ended. Because I'm like, man, if Game 4 ends differently, now we got the championship already. It's all won. Now we got to go to Oklahoma State.
But we're winning Game 7.
Yeah, no, that's being awfully picky.
Game 7 makes legends. And honestly, if they don't win this thing, man, what a run!
What a run! And you got to think that the Pacers are looking like a destination for a lot of guys right now when they're trying to figure out where the next steps in their career are. And hopefully it'll lead to, not that I think we need to revamp a roster in a whole way, but you got to think there's going to be some guys out there that are really wanting to join in on what Coach Carlisle's kind of building and the fun that they look like they're having.
Speaking of Coach Carlisle, as a coach yourself, that guy was run out of town because the game had passed him by, remember?
Yeah. I was actually really, really young when that happened. I was probably in first or second grade, so I don't remember it, but my dad told me that.
No, I'm talking about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, I thought you were talking about when he left. When he got ran out of Dallas. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Passed him by.
And here he is, and he's adapted and overcome, and he's doing a great job. I'm glad that he's coaching the Pacers.
Speaking of which, before you go, I'm curious because all coaches have at least one coach, it doesn't even have to be a basketball coach, that you kind of look towards as kind of, I would say like for guidance, but one that you really admire in the way they do things? Who would that be for you?
I mean, number one for me is I really, really admire Nick Saban. I think that's an easy one, and he's not a basketball guy, but you read his books and stuff, and he talks about, one thing that I'm really, really a believer in is falling in love with the process and being a process-oriented person and not worrying about the results, and I'm bad about it sometimes. So it's a thing that I have to remind myself frequently is just fall in love with the process, fall in love with getting better, and it's something we preach to our kids often. And so I try to adapt that from him. Then, from a basketball standpoint, growing up, my dad loved Tom Izzo, and we had all the championship productions, videos, and clinics that Tom Izzo did, and the way he teaches defense, and his teams are always tough and physical, and they're always competitive. Their teams are always scared to play Michigan State in March, and for a while there, I don't think it still is that way, but for a long time, the deal was if you played for him for all 4 years, you played in the Final Four. Any player who had been with him for 4 years had played in the Final Four. He had that to say on his resume. So, someone that's maybe sustained excellence and preaches toughness like Tom Izzo is someone that I like a lot.
Which of your coaches that you had in your life influenced you the most?
Man, that's a tough one because I think I've taken some keys from each. Ken Adams that I played for in high school, he was a guy that he was an everyday person. That consistency was key, and you had to do things right every single day and no days off. And he's still the coach, and his teams are still good and competitive. Even years when they don't have as much talent as they have in years past, they're still always tough to beat because they do things right and they're tough and they're hard-nosed. And then, I was an assistant with Albert Hendricks at Lebanon, and he's such a good defensive mastermind, and he was so good about preparing his teams for what the other team does, and I've taken a lot from him. And then I went and was an assistant at McCutcheon with Tyler Shear, and we were running and gunning and scoring a lot of points. And so I'm really blessed to have been able to work alongside a lot of really, really good coaches and see a lot of different styles of play and being able to draw from all of them.